In 2001, New Line Cinema unleashed the fantasy epic The Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring onto the world. As a 7-year-old boy obsessed with mythological beings and creatures, I begged my father to take me to see it, despite the PG-13 rating. I expected something fun and lighthearted, like so many other fantasy films I had seen at that age. Something cute and whimsical, like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. One scene that almost made my heart explode was Bilbo's unexpected transformation. Again, I was only 7 years old at the time, so I was under the delusion that films outside the horror genre couldn't contain truly terrifying sequences. Well, this was the first non-horror movie that made me literally shriek at the top of my lungs. My screams were so deafening, I'm pretty sure I made the viewers next to me drop their popcorn. But a revelation hit me. Scary scenes like this could take place in movies outside the horror genre. Non-horror movies could in fact have the power to rattle me to my core and shatter my inner psyche. Many years have passed since that fateful trip to the theater in 2001. Since then, I've transformed into a perfectly normal adult, obsessed with all things scary and disturbing. Consult my psychiatrist for more info. Now, this is a channel that focuses mostly on things related to the horror genre, but every now and then, we'll tackle a show or movie that may not necessarily belong in the horror genre, but nevertheless contains something scary or disturbing. We've already tackled shows from Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, but today, I'm going to do something a bit different. Films don't necessarily need to be horror-related in order to unnerve us. Sometimes, our own history has provided us with scenarios far more unsettling than anything found in the movies. And some of the best movies of all time were inspired by horrific real-life events. Buckle in, boils and ghouls, because today, I'm going to talk about 8 scenes from non-horror movies that managed to scare the living daylights out of me. Starting with number 8, Donkey Transformation, Pinocchio. Don't underestimate this colorful animated Disney film from the 1940s. This fairy tale, about a little wooden puppet who longs to be a real boy, contains some truly scary stuff. About halfway through the movie, Pinocchio is whisked away to Pleasure Island, an isolated theme park where naughty children can live out their wildest fantasies, destroying glass windows, smoking cigars, etc. Little does he know this island is harboring a deep secret. At some point, the naughty children will transform into mewling donkeys and be shipped off to work in the salt mines. Pinocchio witnesses this firsthand when his new friend Lampwick undergoes a seriously horrific transformation. Like a werewolf, his body bends and contorts until it is transformed into that of a donkey. What's so scary about this situation is that the villains, unlike so many of their Disney counterparts, never get their comeuppance. The children here are never rescued, doomed to spend the rest of their lives as slaves in the salt mines. This is pretty disturbing stuff, and it's probably the scariest scene in any animated Disney movie. Number 7, Ceremonial Sacrifice, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom is seen as the oddball of the Indiana Jones franchise. Many critics have deemed it an ugly, racist film that blah 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 blah. As a child, I only saw it as a silly yarn with bugs and baddies, nothing more. And I still see it that way. My god, this is a fictional movie with a whip-cracking archaeologist, not a political statement. Nothing to take seriously. However, the scene in which Indian friends stumble upon a thuggy ceremony is a literal depiction of hell. It's lit like something out of a horror movie, complete with ominous red and orange glows. We see the evil cultist Mullah Ram literally tear a poor sap's heart out of his chest, squeezing it in the palm of his hand while laughing like a maniac. He then lowers the man into a pit with a swirling pool of lava at the bottom. This scene contains not a hint of humor. It's bleak, merciless, and makes you feel completely uncomfortable. Spielberg and Lucas admitted they were both in pretty dark places when making this sequel, and it really shows. But at least Temple of Doom isn't a mere retread of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and this sacrifice scene really demonstrates how far the filmmakers were willing to go in order to differentiate their sequel from its lighthearted predecessor. Number 6, Bear, Annihilation. I miss the surreal science fiction film in theaters, and hot damn do I regret it. It's a masterful study of feminine power and the creation of life itself. And it further cements Alex Garland as one of the most unique voices working in film today. Natalie Portman's biologist character accompanies a squad of researchers as they venture into this dangerous zone filled with deadly creatures and plant life. In one scene, Gina Rodriguez's character completely loses her mind and ties up her accomplices in a fit of paranoia. Suddenly, we hear the eerie voice of their supposedly dead friend echoing from the other room. Out stumbles a grotesque-looking bear with a deformed head and a protruding skull. The bear is able to imitate the voice of their dead friend, luring them into a false sense of security before devouring them alive. The sounds this creature makes are utterly haunting and will make you squirm in your seat. The fact that it is able to lure you in with the sounds of your dead loved ones is chilling, and this scene will leave your nerves feeling annihilated. Sorry, bad joke. Number 5, dentist torture, Marathon Man. Almost everyone I know has a fear of going to the dentist. Just the idea that a total stranger is sticking these sharp tools into your mouth is not a very comforting thought. Well, this 1970s thriller starring acting giants Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier took full advantage of that fear by delivering a torture scene for the ages. Hoffman's character is a history student who inadvertently gets caught up in a conspiracy involving a sadistic Nazi criminal, played with haunting menace by Olivier. In one particularly cringeworthy scene, Hoffman is at the mercy of Olivier and his assortment of deadly torture weapons. Sorry, I meant dentist tools. The sadistic Nazi tortures Hoffman by sticking the tools into his mouth and... yeah. To make things a million times worse, he grabs an electric drill and slowly moves in. We are on the edges of our seats as the drill gets closer and closer, eager to annihilate the nerves inside Hoffman's mouth. What makes this scene even more frustrating is the fact that we, like Hoffman, have no idea why he's being tortured, so anything goes really. God, this scene makes me really dread my next trip to the dentist's. Number 4, Zodiac Killer in the Park, Zodiac. Legendary director Alfred Hitchcock once said that he liked to play the audience like a piano. What he meant was that he liked to manipulate the audience's emotions through heart-pounding suspense. David Fincher is a director who understands that viewpoint and often utilizes it in his films. Zodiac is a tense, white-knuckle thriller that manipulates our emotions by means of brilliant writing and directing. Based on a true story, it follows Jake Gyllenhaal's cartoonist character as he works obsessively to uncover the identity of the infamous Zodiac Killer, who was never actually captured by law officials. In one particularly gruesome scene, we see a helpless couple bump into the Zodiac Killer in a public park, in broad daylight. The killer ties them both up and proceeds to, well, go to work. There is no music in this sequence, only outside ambience. It's also unique in that it takes place during a bright, sunny day. It's an exceedingly horrific moment, made worse by the fact that the killer forces the wife to watch as he carves into her husband. Zodiac is my favorite Fincher film. It's a wonderful look into obsession and violence. Number 3, Alien Experiments, Fire in the Sky. You can laugh at me all you want, I have this deep fear of being abducted by beings from another planet. The idea of being held hostage in an alien environment thousands of miles away from home is enough to make my knees tremble. Based on a supposedly true story, this 1993 sci-fi mystery is about Travis Walton, an Arizonian who is apparently abducted by hostile aliens. Most of the film is kind of a bland mystery that follows the townspeople trying to find out what really happened to him, but near the film's climax, we see in gruesome detail what happened when Travis was taken aboard their ship, and Jesus, I thought the torture scene in Marathon Man was hard to watch. They force him onto an operating table, cover him in an elastic sheet, and proceed with a terrifying experiment. You know, fun stuff. They shove jelly into his mouth, stick a tool into his neck, and God, this next part makes me cringe. A long, sharp needle slowly descends from the ceiling towards his exposed eyeball, cutting away just in time before penetration. The whole sequence aboard the alien ship is just nerve-wracking, and it is still, to this day, regarded as one of the best alien abduction scenes in all of cinema. It's definitely the scariest. Number 2, Singin' in the Rain, A Clockwork Orange. Stanley Kubrick apparently hated this film about a troubled young man and his droogs who take to the English streets in pursuit of the old ultra-violence. Alex DeLarge is one of the most infamous antagonists in all of cinema, remembered for his age and his sheer passion for mayhem. But what makes him interesting is that apart from his youth, he has a refined taste in classical music. He may seem classy on the outside, but on the inside, he's a brutal monster. In the infamous Singin' in the Rain scene, Alex and his droogs invade the home of a married couple, gleefully destroying their belongings. The moment escalates once Alex decides to rape and defile the wife, all set to the jolly tune Singin' in the Rain. Thanks for ruining Gene Kelly for me, Kubrick. This scene is so traumatizing that it ruined a classic musical for me. That's all there is to say, really. Number 1. Auschwitz Shower, Schindler's List. This brutal, hard-to-watch Spielberg film about the Holocaust is filled with horrifying acts of human indecency. Shot mostly handheld, it really feels as if we're living through the Holocaust with these unfortunate men, women, and children. It almost comes across like a full-fledged documentary. Oskar Schindler is our complex, layered protagonist, a man who ultimately decides to harbor over 1,000 Jewish individuals inside his munitions factory, passing them off as essential workers. Near the film's climax, the Jewish women are accidentally shipped to the death camp Auschwitz, where they are stripped completely naked and forced inside this enclosed chamber. The fear is that they will be gassed, even if that's not the case. This scene is heartbreaking. Just watching these women shake uncontrollably and scream in fear, it's a depressing reminder that the Holocaust itself was an abomination, one of the evilest periods in human history. The film as a whole has plenty of hard-to-watch moments. This shower scene just adds to the overall horror. Spielberg, you really captured the inhumanity of the time period. This is, without a doubt, the scariest scene I've ever witnessed in a non-horror movie. Of course, there's been plenty of other scary scenes in non-horror movies over the years. These are just a handful of examples. Were there any I missed? Please let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more horrific content. Have a scary day, boils and ghouls!